All right, so now we're going to cover the flatten transformation and multi-value lookup. And I do encourage you also to take a quick look at the data flow editor videos with the same topics. We cover some more on the slides, but in this particular chapter right here, we are going to use the recipes to show you how to implement the same thing with the tool of choice moving forward, which should be the recipes for you. Now, for flatten transformation, just a quick reminder, what it does is it takes the ID, if you have a kind of an ID and parent ID, and let's say you have an A rolls up to no one, B rolls up to A, and C rolls up to B. And what we're trying to do is find that path. So C rolls up to B, B rolls up to A rolls up to A. So this whole path of C, comma B, comma A on any record owned by C, having the user ID C, now anybody from B or A is able to access or view this record, especially from security predicate perspective. Of course, this applies to other things like account, parent account, city, maybe some, city, state, something, some hierarchy that you have, geographic or maybe, or even time, or even any custom dimension. All right. So for that, we are going to go back to recipes, and I'm going to create a new recipe. And I'm going to select a typical object that's been synced here. It's called user role. So user role is an object in Salesforce. This is right there. It's synced all the way from the Salesforce native source or database. I'm only going to select meaningful fields just because I'm going to show you flatten transformation and to understand that this is all what I need. I need the ID, the name, and the parent, who this person rolls up to. So I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to add directly transformation. And in that transformation, I'm going to go to the flatten option. Notice I selected role, not parent, because parent will be the one being flattened for role. So I'm going to hit flatten. And it's asking me what's the parent column. So the parent column here is easily parent role ID. I can include child node or not. This is to include that role ID or not. So again, just be aware of this option, what it does for security. So people in the same level kind of have access to similar records. And the next one is, for example, let's say, what do you want to call this new column? So I'm going to call it maybe, parent role IDs, and I'll call it multi-value. It's not a system column. If you check this, that means it's hidden from the UI. Sometimes people want to hide it from the UI so users don't get thrown off by a field that looks something like this, like a slash or like a comma with multiple IDs, etc. The hierarchy path column label. So we have two things here. Again, very similar. One with the slash, one with the comma. I'm just going to call it parent role IDs path. So again, remember, this is the path. This is the thing you will see. And this is the node. This is the other column node that is actually the multi-value field. Multi-value field, yeah. Okay, so if I hit here apply, I'm going to see that the transformation has been applied. So as you can see, this is the path. You can see the path is something as I can view it. There's not a system field. I can see here there are multiple IDs. This is the multi-value. This is what I meant. This is actually multi-value, but in recipes you cannot see multi-values. We're going to talk about multi-values next thing. You can group by them, you can see them, you can filter by them, but again, this is the actual field that's used in security predicate. This is just more of a guideline to show you that, hey, things are working correctly as expected. Now, if I lower this, and now what do I need to do? Typically, because this is a user thing and user ID, what I would want to do is add a node, and I just want the user object. I'm trying to enhance that user. Let's say this is the user object being brought in. I could have added actually any up owner account ID. I could have added it here. I could have added anything that has a user ID in it. But in this case, let's say I want to, and again, typically what you want to do is drag this and drop it here. And this would be a join, but they should be one-to-one. So this is all the users, one record, one record. I'm joining them together on one. So I'm going to expand this all the way down. And it is on role ID because role ID is matching from the user ID itself. So this is what you are doing from role ID to role ID. Each role ID, what are the parent path, or what is the multi-value path for that particular role ID? And I'm going to call this maybe the roles. It's not, of course, lookup multi-value. It's one-to-one. And again, I'm going to hit apply. And now what I have is for this user, which full name and country and whatever, I have at the end the parent role ID multi-value. So of course, some users in this particular case, they don't belong to anyone, and some of them they do. Again, this is a dev environment. A more meaningful example would have been this as the up owner account. Again, the same thing, but ideally what you want to do is before you start your data sets, and if you know you have security requirements, you would do this for the user table or the user data set. And now once you register this and you call it users, let's say with roles, and you will use this to create any data set dependent on users. So in my up owner account, I would have gone and used this particular data set because it already has the role IDs for the security, security predicates for data row level security. Then I would always use users with roles anytime I want to go out there and implement that. Okay. So that's for Flatten, very quick example. The next thing is going to be the multi-value, the things I was just talking about right now. And for that, I am also going to create a new recipe. Now, multi-value is, it has two folds. Again, you can use it to read, for example, multi-value pick lists. So if you have an object, you have a multi-value pick list, you can select 2 or 3 or whatever. In the dashboard, you will be able to distinguish and say, okay, this is a multi-value field, so the counts is different. So for example, if I had here, let me show you these. If I had, again, quickly 3 records, one says black, and the other one says black and white, and the other one says black, white, and red, for example. If I say this is a multi-value field and I count all of these, I will have a 3 black, 2 white, and 1 red. If I didn't say this is a multi-value field and I do a grouping, then I'm going to get 3 equal records. One that's B, one is B, comma W, one is B, comma W, comma red. They will be treated as this is a full value. If I say this is a multi-value, the engine will understand that this is a B and this is a W and repeats. So that's how you ingest the data. And I showed you earlier in either the data flow node, SFDC digest node, where you can go and specify that this is a multi-value, or in the recipes through the sync, it should pick automatically a Salesforce field that's a multi-value. It should pick it up in the sync as multi-value. So you shouldn't need to do anything there. Now I'm talking about multi-value here in the other sense, the lookup multi-value field. So let me show you a case where we can go and enhance some of the high-level data sets. So assume I have a count and I have a contact, okay? And let's say I want to bring, account and let's say cases, account and cases. And I want to bring case number or case level information all the way up to account. So let's go forward with these two. Now, There's a little bit of not trickery, I would say, but just like a clever way to say, look, I want at each account level, I don't want to use joins because I don't want to lose the account level of my data set, so account 1, 2, 3, account 4, etc. And I want to be able to bring, yet still bring the case information up. So again, if I had account 1, account 2, account 3 in my account data set, and if I had case 1, case 2, case 3, account 1 here, account 1, and I did a join, then this will replicate. I will have 2 records of A1, not 1. I want to keep 1 record of A1, and I still want to understand that there's C1 and C2. So how do I do that? I can do multi-value lookup. This is how I do it. I can add one more transformation here, and this transformation is doing nothing but, let's say I want to add here a custom formula, and it adds a counter 1. So this is literally a number, and that number is only 1 digit, and I call it case counter right here, case counter. Okay? And what I'm doing here, for every case, I'm just adding a flag, a 1, all the way below here. So now I have, for each case, I have a record 1. Okay, and because we're doing a lookup multi-value, which is expensive, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag and drop this guy into account, and I call it a join. A join type is a lookup. So if I go down here, it's a lookup, account ID to account ID in case, and I'm gonna call this a multi-value, or let's just call it cases. This is coming from cases, but the important thing is look up multiple values right here. Look up multiple values. Now, I should have done one more thing. This absolutely is a good practice to not bring everything together. So I do not need all of these case fields. There are too much of them, and for performance reasons, it's going to take a big hit. So let's go and drop all of these cases that or case fields that are not needed. So for example, I don't want product, I don't want all of these. And let's say I just wanted maybe case number. Again, for this particular one, I'm just going to keep it simple. So I'm only bringing 2 fields: case number, which is a text, and case counter, which is a number. So let's see what happens when I bring these to the final output node. Now, if I here add an output node, and again I'll call this accounts enriched with cases. Let's call it like this. And I hit apply, and I'm going to save and run this one. Now, while it's running, I'm going to explain what's going to happen with the multi-value lookup. So remember when I said there was an account 1 and case 1 here repeating. If I use the join, any kind of join, this will give me 2 records. If I do a lookup, single lookup, it will pick only one of these randomly. Sorry, this is C2. And if I do a multi-value lookup, well, what I'm going to get is interesting. I'm going to get A1. Because I have a flag here, 1 and 1, I'm going to get 2 case number of cases. And let's say I had here case 1 and case 2 as the number. I will have C1, C2 on the same record. Why? When I do a lookup multiple values, all numbers aggregate, they just add up. All texts become a multiple value text. Automatically a comma is added. So we do this for text, we do this for number, we don't do it for date because we don't control what happens with the date. And this is how, if I go back here, so this has finished. Let's go back and explore this data set and show you what we have accomplished here. So if you recall, this was an account, and the level is still account. So if I go here and say I have 1001 accounts, yes. And if I do a group by account name, yes, it's still 1. But the interesting thing is if I do a sum of the case counter, remember this was a number and it only adds up, I can immediately see for this account 5 cases. It's still one record. Remember, it's still one record, A1. But now I have the case counter because from my C1, 2, 3, 4, I added artificially a number 1, 1, 1. And when I do look up multiple value, it just adds them up. So now I got the count all the way up to cases, which is very good. And second, if I were actually to group by, it's not recommended, but if I were to group by just for testing purposes, I can see that I have 5 cases right here for the account. This is, of course, every account has 5, so this would make sense to say count of rows. I will have 1. Notice I only have one account, one count, but I'm seeing all the cases for that and so forth. Now, as we say also in the data flow editor MultiValue YouTube videos, that or chapter, multiple value is a great feature, but also be careful. It's from a performance perspective, it's heavy, and you shouldn't be doing any grouping by it on a live dashboard. You can do group just for testing, but do a count, do a sum. You can do filters. So for example, if this was on a dashboard and I had a filter somewhere says case number, this is multiple value, but the filter is fine. I can pick the case number, C1, and it will show me accounts only for that C1 and so forth, or for team members working, multiple team members working on the same account or case, and etc., etc. So those are the two things. Again, you can easily do now in recipes as we covered in this particular scenario.